What's up, Michigan State fans? It's Jacob Katzanik here, back for another edition of your Michigan State Spartans Insider Podcast. Today is the day, coming off the bye week now. Michigan State finally back in action here on Saturday against the Nebraska Cornhuskers. We're going to go over some of the final thoughts on this game. What, if Michigan State's able to pull off a win today, what would that look like? That's the main thing we're going to go over today. I've already made my prediction for this game. Not too optimistic. I had 34 Nebraska, 27 for Michigan State. Closer game, but still I ultimately think Nebraska has the upper hand in this one. But still, it's a closer game, I think. There's still a way Michigan State comes out with a win in this one, absolutely, for sure. I'm not super blown away by Nebraska, but I still think they're a slightly better team than Michigan State to this point, and they're playing at home, yada, yada, yada. But to start, I think something we need to talk about is the effect that weather might actually have on this game. As of the time of this being recorded, it's projected that you're going to have winds of 20 miles an hour around game time in Lincoln, and wind gusts of up to 35 miles an hour. So that's going to have an effect on play calling and decisions made by both head coaches. You know, if your kicker has the back to the wind and it's going towards the goalpost, maybe you're more likely to kick it rather than go for it, and vice versa. Maybe you're more likely to go to it if your kicker has to kick into the wind a bit more. But it also, I think, as far as the play calling goes, it has a big effect on quarterbacks being able to throw the ball downfield, especially because it's so hard to be able to force that ball through the wind and try to get it accurately into tight windows, per se, especially at the college level where you don't see as much arm strength out of quarterbacks as you do in the NFL. So, who does that help? I think it helps Michigan State, to be quite honest with you. Michigan State has the advantage, I think, in the running department in this one. For one, Michigan State's run defense to this point has been better than Nebraska's. Nebraska's about 109th in the FBS in rush defense. Michigan State still not amazing, but still sitting at about 47th. Excuse me. But still, sitting much better than Nebraska. Both teams are kind of licking their wounds in that regard as far as stopping the run both times. For each of these teams, they could not stop it against their last opponent. Michigan State, about 290 allowed on the ground in their last game at USC. And then Nebraska, they played Michigan. You know what Michigan's going to try to do, run the ball. They allowed a little more than 300 yards in that one, and a lot of it on some really big plays. So Michigan State, they're both offensively, both teams are relatively similar. I believe Michigan State averages 4.4 yards a carry. Nebraska just behind that, 4.3. So not too much an advantage either way in that one. But something, if this becomes a game where, who can run the ball better, Michigan State does have more depth at the running back position. They have three guys who have have at least 25 carries on the year. One of them is Aiden Childs, the quarterback. He can run. Obviously, you know that. And then they have two running backs who you're going to see get the ball, Mekhi Frazier and Brandon Tullis. Nebraska is one guy. Nebraska is one guy who you're going to see actually get the ball a whole lot, at least to this point this year. Maybe they bring in a second running back up and give him some more carries in this one. But to this point, it's been all Emmett Johnson on the ground for them. He has 71 carries, I think, before the bye week. He was leading the Big Ten in carries. If he wasn't first, he was second or third. He was up there in terms of just how much he gets the ball. He gets the ball a lot in their passing game as well. That dude's a workhorse, but when you keep getting the ball that much, you're going to get worn out towards the end of the game, and you're just going to not be. That's how the human body is. You're not going to be as effective once it's the fourth quarter and you're on your 21st carry of the game. It's naturally how it is. Michigan State is a lot more ready to space out how often each of their players touch the ball in that regard in the run game. Passing game, I mean, you kind of have to hope that it's that way too, because the passing game favors Nebraska. For one, Nebraska airs it out more. They're more used to throwing it a lot. Raiola has about 30 more pass attempts than Aiden Childs to this point in this season. They've been particularly effective. Childs Raiola is a close debate, I think. Raiola statistically is better, but he has had more pass attempts average per attempt is pretty much right dead on even. But Raiola has more guys he can. Well, I don't want to split hairs about the wide receiving core, but he's got two really good wide receivers to throw to. Ja'Cory Barney had about 500 yards last year, I think. And then Dane Gee, who had 700 yards in the SEC at Kentucky last year. So they have two really good wide receivers too. MSU has Nick Marsh, Amari Kelly, two fantastic wide receivers that Spartan fans should be very happy are on their team, but Nebraska has that to match as well. The Luke Lindenmeyer, their tight end, he's been able to get involved in the pass game a good amount this year after mostly being a blocking tight end for most of his career. But defensively, that's where this is the biggest mismatch of the game, is how well each team defends the pass. Michigan State, it's been dreadful. There's no way about it. They're right near the bottom of the FBS, or really the top in how much passing yards they allow. It's way up there. I mean, they can't get off the field on third down because they can't defend the pass. It's it's not double-edged sword, but like there's two reasons for that. Like, one, they can't rush the passer. 6 sacks on the year, all of them in those 2 games against Western Michigan and Youngstown State, the 2 weakest teams on the schedule. Boston College and USC, they couldn't get to the quarterback. They had one shot at Jaden Mayava, really. 9 times out of 10, they probably sack him, but he escaped that one. It was that big 3rd and 3 to start the fourth quarter. But still, no sacks on the year. And secondly, again, the coverage hasn't been good enough either. Here's the other reason why you kind of know it's more of a coverage issue too, is that Nebraska, they have the same issue with their own pass rush. It's actually if it's not just as bad, it's worse. They also only have 6 sacks this season through 4 games, same amount as Michigan State. I looked at the Pro Football. Pro Football Focus is not gospel. Especially at the college portion, not the world's most accurate source of information, but it's something. Pro Football Focus gives Michigan State more pressures in terms of rushing the quarterback than Nebraska does. So Michigan State has almost been better at getting quarterbacks flustered than Nebraska's pass rush to this point in the year. But Nebraska, first in the FBS still in passing yards allowed, 75 yards a game. Like, it's 75 yards a game allowed through the air is just nuts. And they've done it. I mean, 2 of their games pretty weak, Akron, Houston Christian, but every Power 5 team is going to have 2 games or so, at least one. They're going to have one of those games, to kind of boost those numbers. But they did it against Cincinnati, and Sorsby over there, quarterback, who has been fantastic for the Bearcats ever since. Even though you think he had 60-something passing yards in that game on 25 attempts, 2 picks. I'm trying to remember the box score in my head. But just miserable night for him, and ever since he's been great. He's over 1,000 yards now already, bouncing back from basically a 0 on his score sheet. So that means Nebraska is playing really sticky coverage. Like, there's not windows to throw in, even though it seems quarterbacks have time to kind of scan the field. So if Michigan State wants to, at the end of the day, the win's going to matter, but it's not going to matter. It's not going to be everything. It's not going to be like driving snow where you have to run the ball 9 times out of 10. You just can't throw it. You can still throw it. It's still possible. The weather's great overall. I mean, the wind matters, but it's going to be 80-something degrees. It's not going to rain or anything. So you got to be able to throw the ball. So can Nick Marsh, can Omari Kelly get open at some point? Like, whether it be in the quick game, whether it's down the field, can they get open? Can they find a way to get Aiden Childs some passing yards? That's going to be tough. And it's a lot tougher than what you'd imagine Nebraska is going to be going through, because Nebraska has a better secondary than Michigan State's. And that's really the main reason I chose the Cornhuskers to win, is that their secondary just plays so much better. And when it's third down and you had to put your life on the line on who's going to get a stop, you look at the stats. It's Nebraska. They're only allowing opponents to convert about a quarter of the time. Michigan State's a lot more closer to half the time. I think it's about 45%. So, yeah, I mean, but Michigan State needs to be able to convert those third downs, and they need to use their run game to get into shorter third downs to open up the playbook for those situations on third and maybe fourth down. You might have to go for it a couple of times if you want to win this one. But still, Michigan State's secondary has to step up in this one. They need their pass rush to step up in this one. And they need to somehow be able to get stuff going through the air against one of the best teams in the country against the pass. Again, we'll break down the game later today. After this one, we'll see what happens. Play the game. I'll see if I'm right, see if I'm wrong. But once again, I'm Jacob Kotzenika, your Michigan State Spartans beat writer here on SI. Continue to keep tuning in here and at SpartanNation.com. We'll see you after the game.